So this is my first speech here. Y'all give me some slack. I'm just trying to get I haven't given any speeches before in my entire life, so I'm excited right now. I'm hoping I can present y'all a message that will help people out.
Hey guys, didn't this take courage for him to do this?
Look. It's hard to go tell people that you had a drug problem in the past. Look, I ruined relationships. I ruined my business. I lost a girlfriend. I got put in a bad financial position because I had this problem. When I was at Mississippi State, I was studying for this test, and I was cramming for it. I knew I wasn't going to pass it, and so I called a friend up. I was like, do you have any Adderall? I was going to use it to study, and I took it that night, and after that I got hooked. And first I started using it to study. Then I started using it to go out on. That's how exactly. That's how it starts right there. Nobody uses it and thinks they're gonna become addicted. I did. Anybody who becomes addicted uses it. They use it one time and go ahead.
I'm sorry. Have you ever seen the show Grownish?
No.
Okay, well, it's a show that's on ABC Family. I think it's called Freeform now, whatever. But on that show Grownish, it shows how like in college, like they were saying like, hey, we all do a little something to help us with school, help us focus. And so the main character, her friends were suggesting that she do Adderall. And so when she took it, she was like, okay. She said, and the problem is when you do Adderall, you focus on one thing at a time. And so instead of her doing her work, she ended up like going shopping crazy. Then she realized that she had an addiction.
Oh, it will cause so many problems like that. Yeah.
She kept taking, so eventually she like, stopped. But this kind of similar. So I found
very, absolutely. It would cause a lot of problems. The only way I was able to get off it was I had to make myself accountable. I was a firefighter in Clinton about 2 years ago. So I know the pieces aren't really adding up about my life and everything. I'm trying to get my... Yeah, I've done a couple things, but when I was a firefighter in Clinton, I had this drug problem, and I wasn't being productive. The other firefighters didn't like me around because they could tell I had a drug problem or something was wrong with me. So I had to tell other people. I had to come out and say, hey, look, I had to go. I went to my fire chief's office. I said, look, chief, I got a drug problem. I'm not supposed to be here right now. And he said that takes a lot of courage. He let me off the hook, like not saying let me off the hook, but he understood. I quit working there, but. Talking about entrepreneurship, there's a lot to be learned about entrepreneurship, and I can't explain it today in 20 minutes. What I do is I read a lot of books. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to go to Barnes & Noble and get as many books as you can on selling, entrepreneurship, creating good daily habits for yourself, because you're only as good as you make yourself to be. So go to Barnes & Noble. Instead of playing PlayStation, there you go, brother. Pass this around right here. That's a good book right there. That's a 10X rule. This one right here is real estate. So this is it's a good book about real estate. So as an entrepreneur, you're not going to have a retirement plan. My retirement plan is going to be real estate. Once I start making it more financially, I haven't made it by any means. This past year, I have pushed to grow my 2 businesses because I started my 2 businesses back this year. So the gist of it, I started entrepreneurship 5 years ago in Starville. I failed at it because I did drugs, and I started back again. I had to get completely clean. So I was a deadbeat about a year ago. I was living up at my parents' house, sleeping on my parents' couch. Didn't have a girlfriend. I have an amazing girlfriend now. She takes care of me. I go running with her every morning. And that's how I had to clean myself up. I had to go run. Because when you're a drug addict, you're obsessed about one thing. You're obsessed about getting that next hit. I had to replace that with something. I had to start running every day. So I started running until I got shin splints. I started running about 14 miles a day. I started out running 1 mile a day. Then I started running 2 miles a day after about a week. Then I started running 3 miles a day, and I just became obsessed with running. Once I healed myself, because I had this tremendous drop in energy once I quit, because I was using that to give me energy. But once I quit, I had this tremendous drop in energy, and I had to start running. And once I started running, I brought my energy level back up. I was like, all right. That's about a year ago is after I got out of the fire department. I told my mom, I told my chief that I had the drug problem. My parents let me sleep on their couch for a couple months, and then I started running, and then I started my businesses back about a year ago. Right now, we got about 70 clients, repeat clients in my lawn care business, and we're also expanding out into French drains, plant installations. We're doing all kinds of stuff. We just got our second truck. We want to run 4 teams this summer. So when I'm talking about when you got to build a business, you don't work for money. I work for my mission. My mission statement is to make earth look like heaven. So anyways, whenever we go out and we hit it, I'm building a team around me. A good entrepreneur always builds a team. They never go at it alone. I've had a good team to help me out this year. There you go, brother. Pass this around too. That's a good book right there. Here's another book I'm passing around. It's called Today Matters. It's by John C. Maxwell. It's about developing your attitude. It's about developing your finances. It's about developing your relationships. It's about having good family values. It's about having good spiritual values. So as an entrepreneur, you have to have all these things. You have to have this balance. You have to have this like synergy, this synchronicity with having good habits. Here's another one right here. It's a good one. You need to have that in your life, or you're not going to be a good entrepreneur. You have to have good attitude and all that stuff. So that's just about developing yourself as a person. This next book is called Before You Quit Your Job. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, being an employee and being an entrepreneur are exact opposites. So as an employee, you go to work and you're told what to do. As an entrepreneur, you start a business. Nobody's telling you what to do. You have to figure it out on your own. And if you don't hit the ground running and you don't hit it, if you don't figure it out on your own, you're going to fail. That's why entrepreneurs fail, is because nobody's there to tell you what to do. So, actually, yeah, he sees the point right there. You have to be able to figure it out. And so, being an entrepreneur is a very emotional thing, because when you have a job, you have job security. You have somebody telling you what to do, and you have a steady paycheck. As an entrepreneur, you're not going to have a steady paycheck. You got to go out and figure it out on your own. So you have to be able to emotionally handle not having money for a short period of time. And that's what Before You Quit Your Job is about. This book right here is called Master Key to Riches. It's by Napoleon Hill. There's another book, the sister book to that is called Think and Grow Rich. Thinking is what creates wealth. It's not about, like, anybody can create wealth, but it's the people who think right. You got to change your thinking. It's another book about having a positive attitude and just believing in yourself. You can't just go and do something. You have to have a firm belief that you can do it. And also it's about believing in other people. So one of the things about me is I like to create a team. I don't like to do things by myself. And I like to believe in my team that they can accomplish what our goals are. So if you're by yourself as an entrepreneur, you can only grow this much. You can only grow as much as you can expand out. But that's why you have to network with people, build teams. Another misconception about entrepreneurship is that you have to be the smartest person on your team. That is not true at all. You need to be the dumbest person on your team. What I like to do is surround myself with smarter people than me. So I'm in the lawn and landscape business. I met this guy who's been doing landscaping. I'm 27 years old. This guy is like 47. He's been landscaping 30 years longer than me. So instead of hiring him and telling him what to do, this is what a good entrepreneur does. They hire somebody smarter than them. They put them on a job that's doing stuff like this guy who works for me. He can do stuff I don't know how to do, so I can go secure business and expand myself into stuff I don't know how to do. This book right here is called Sell or Be Sold. It's by Grant Cardone. It's about selling. In order to be a successful entrepreneur, you got to sell. I know so many smart people who can't create a business because they can't sell another human being on their ideas. They're afraid to knock on doors. They're afraid to get in front of an audience. They're afraid to get on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat and say that I'm in business, because you will face rejection as an entrepreneur. Somebody will eye you and say they disapprove of what you're doing because you're taking action. And that's just how it is in life. So you got to put yourself out there and be able to experience rejection. This book right here will blow your freaking mind. It's called Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. So this is the 4 ways money is generated. You have the E quadrant, the S quadrant, the B quadrant, and the I quadrant. E stands for employee. This means you go and work for a job for money. You're basically trading time for money. You're trading labor for money. You go get a job wherever, McDonald's, you're a computer programmer, even a doctor, anywhere you're on staff and collect a paycheck, you're in the E quadrant. That means you're trading your time for money. This right here is called self-employed. There's a difference between being self-employed and creating a business. A business is a system that generates money. Self-employed is when you create a job for yourself. So whether you're a plumber, you're a contractor, you have your own little shop, whatever you do, if you're by yourself, you're self-employed. You can only tap out at a certain amount if you're self-employed, and basically you just create a job for yourself. A system is when you create a system that runs on its own, where you can go create another system to make money for you. So a system is like, this is what I'm trying to do with my lawn and landscape business. I see guys all the time in this business who go and cut yards by themselves. They do everything by themselves. And one of the core differences of these people is they are perfectionists. They don't like anybody else touching their stuff, and they think that they can do better than everybody else. A B quadrant person is the exact opposite. They want to create a system. I want to create a system of trucks that go out and cut yards instead of me doing it myself. If I do that, I can replicate myself. I can have more trucks running and generating revenue, and I can go create another business. I got two businesses right now. I got a vending machine route with over 54 machines. And notice I've done this all in a year. After I got off drugs, I created a vending machine route with 54 vending machines, and I got a lawn and landscape business with 2 trucks. I want these trucks to run on their own. Instead of being in the S quadrant, someone who's a perfectionist, who's a know-it-all, who doesn't work well with other people, I want to say, all right, other people can work harder than me, smarter than me. I want to hire these people, put them in the teams, and I want them to generate money. You can make more money doing that. In the short term, you make less money because you are not, you have to hire other people. You got to in turn pay somebody else to get going with it. But after a while, you'll have more trucks. You're running more trucks, and you're generating more and more money from all the trucks that are running. And I want to do the same thing with my vending machine company. I want my vending machine company to run on its own. I want to hire somebody. I want to train them to run the vending machine route, and then acquire more and more territory. So pass this book around right here. This is that's cash flow quadrant. Another thing is, in the B quadrant, you're in turn creating jobs for other people. So entrepreneurs have a very, very important role in the world because they create jobs. Jobs just aren't created just out of thin air. They're created by entrepreneurs. So when you're in the B quadrant, you create jobs for other people. This book right here is called Shoe Dog. It's about the story of Phil Knight. So one of the things I want to talk about is entrepreneurs are the people who change the world. It's not the government. The government does one thing. They enforce laws and collect taxes. But entrepreneurs, what they do is they change the world. They bring new ideas. They bring people together. I can guarantee you, we love America because we're kind of a self-love nation, but people outside of America, they don't really like us that much. But I guarantee you one thing they do like, everybody freaking loves Nike. So that's an entrepreneur who's spreading ideas around the world that everybody can agree with. This is Phil Knight's book right there that is it's called Shoe Dog. It talks about his story about how he started making shoes. What you got there?
Okay, so when you wanted to start your own business,
Yes, ma'am.
what was the reason behind it? What was it, the simple fact that you just want to start your own business, or was it other factors leading to like I want to work for somebody else, or
A lot of that, but it honestly, if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you'd understand. That's a Rich Dad book right there, and it just talks about how the world of money works and serving a mission. So, like one of the things is I do want to be financially free, but I also want to create my own destiny. You can't create your own destiny if you go work for somebody else your entire life. You fulfill, and this is the truth about life. You will fulfill somebody else's dream if you go work for somebody else the rest of your life. You can create your own destiny. I love it, man. I love how you're engaged right now. You will create your own destiny if you go out and be an entrepreneur. This right here is called the power of a positive team. No entrepreneur can be successful without a team. So you need positivity on your team. If you have negative people on your team, you want to isolate them to where they don't infect the rest of the group, or you want to get rid of them, and you will always. This book talks about how. Go ahead, brother.
So what's the hardest thing about all of these businesses?
One of them is just rejection, because whenever you put yourself out there, there's going to be people who reject you. You just gotta get. I've gotten immune to it every time. And that's another reason. After I failed, I didn't want to go through that rejection phase of starting my businesses again, because I had to go knock on doors. I had to go put myself out there on social media, on all forms of social media. I had to just go through this rejection period in order to get my name out there again, because that was hard. That was probably the hardest thing, and just you're scared, man. When you start a business, you're scared. You don't have a steady paycheck. It's just pushing through that fear, and then after a while, your mind can create more than you know. When you have a job, you pretty much just follow orders and routinely do what your boss tells you. But whenever you're an entrepreneur, you have to figure it out on your own. So I'm scared when I started my business out again. Even though I've done it before, I'm scared of what I got to go through. This is the power of positive team right now. This book talks about how entrepreneurship is like it's like a team. It's no different than a football team. This guy he interviewed the Clemson head coach, a couple other head coaches, and just it talks about how being an entrepreneur, you're like on a sports team. You gather a group of people together to meet an objective, and you inspire these people. You tell them your game plan, you tell them your strategy, and you let them. You pretty much push your people in the right direction in order to win. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're competing against other businesses, and you want your business to win. So it's like a sports team. So also, I follow Grant Cardone, and I always read and listen to his stuff. So I noticed when you're on social media, the world right now is full of negativity. You get on social media, exactly. You'll get on you'll get on social media and you will just be depressed after about 30 seconds of just scrolling through it. I can't do it anymore. I have to replace that with something that's positive. That's why I'm always reading books, because like negativity will come to you without you asking. Positivity, you got to search for. You got to put an effort for. People will dump garbage on in your mind all the time without your solicitation. They will do it without you asking. You have to. It takes effort to make yourself positive. And over a period of time, you naturally become positive and become immune to it. But Grant Cardone, he talks about success is your duty, obligation, and responsibility. So success, if you go at starting a business kind of halfway, oh, I'm going to start a business and then go play PlayStation or go hang out with your friends, it's not going to work. You got to treat it like it's your duty, obligation, and responsibility. So it's not just something that you have to approach it like a hungry dog on the back of a meat truck. You have to just take it. You got to go after it all the way. So I bought these for my team from Grant Cardone's office, but it's just something that I know it sounds like, this man wants me to read to myself every day, but I wake up. This says success is your duty, obligation, and responsibility. And it says, I pledge a commitment to my success, my family's success, and the successful survival of the company I represent. Success is not an option for me, but something I insist upon achieving. Success is not something others can give me, nor is it something that the government nor the economy can provide me. Success is not determined by luck, chance, race, creed, color, or religion, but is dependent upon hard work, creativity, follow through, and persistence. I refuse not to have my success. I refuse not to quit prior to achieving my success, and I will do everything ethical in claiming my right to success. And here's another one. It's called You Are Greatness, Don't Fight It. On the back it says, I'm intense, I'm obsessed, I'm not like others. I do what others refuse to do. I must control my destiny. I'm never satisfied. I cannot settle. I rise while others sleep. I refuse to quit. I'm driven to succeed. I'm a role model for others. And I got these for y'all. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, here you go. Thank you. Yes, sir. There you go. All right, I'm out. So I have these wristbands right here from Grant Cardone's office. I wear these every day. My favorite one is I'm committed, because if you go at something, there you go. There you go. Every day I read my wristbands that says I'm committed, because if you go at something without commitment, you won't make it. You have to be committed to whatever you do in life. I don't care if you become an entrepreneur or not. If you find that person that you fall in love with, you have to be committed to that person in order for it to work. If you go and get a job somewhere, in order to move up, you have to be committed to that job. You have to commit. If you want to finish school, you have to be committed to finishing school. I guarantee you, there are people right now, there's a huge dropout rate right now. Unless you have commitment, you won't finish. I'm back in school right now because I flunked out because of my drug problem. I'm studying aviation. I'm going to be a pilot. I'm not going to be a pilot to go work for the airlines. I've already told them I'm going to go start another business. I'm going to start another business with what I learned in school right now. Freaking love y'all. That's all I got. Yeah, I want to start. I was thinking about crop dusting at one time. That industry is going to change just because it's super dangerous. But I was thinking about having an airline charter around Jackson. Like around Jackson, there ain't nothing to do. This is a boring little town. So I was thinking about having an airline charter. You pay like $250, you get flown in an airplane. I'm going to network with other pilots, see if they like the idea. And then we're going to get some planes and we're going to charter people around on the weekends or during the week or whenever. So.
Okay, you get some money like that.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Way to make
guys,
money.
is he a serial entrepreneur?
Yes.
Okay, we've been talking about, that's somebody that develops more than one business.
Yes, ma'am.
By the way, he's not the only student at Hinds to be a serial entrepreneur. Up here I have a quote from Zig Ziglar. He originally went to Hinds Community College. And
He's great. He's freaking great.
And he used to say, he used to read every day for 2 or 3 hours a day. So he's backing up what Zig Ziglar said, isn't it? All right, and Zig Ziglar was a motivational speaker.
He's a motivational speaker and entrepreneur. So
You thought about that?
maybe. Yeah, I have.
Oh, we're gonna visit you, we're gonna do this.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So how do you know when you're ready to expand? Because like I know when we upsize
Man.
or downsize.
Yeah.
Because when when you upsize, you have to have a business to upsize. You can't just
Exactly.
upsize because you want to get bigger.
Promoting and selling is the number one skill of being an entrepreneur, and that's what I read in the 10X rule. So in the 10X rule, it talks about always look at expanding, never look at backing off. And so, like you said, you got to have the business in order to expand, like with equipment and people and stuff of that nature. So here's an example of how I've learned this lesson. For you, always need to promote. Your role as an entrepreneur is the salesperson. You got to sell others on buying into your business or your ideas, and you also got to sell others on working for you. You got to have a mission. They got to gravitate towards you and want to work for you. So an example, and I love that point there, because you have to have the business in order to justify getting that equipment and to growing out and everything. So when I started back a year ago, I knew all this stuff because I freaking I like to read all the time, and that's how my mind stays positive. I know what I'm doing, and a lot of people will go into entrepreneurship, and you need mentors. You need people that have done what you've done, and you find those guys in books. So you will have like virtual guides through reading, and so when I started in business a year ago, I went out and bought my lawnmower again. Like, I'm starting at nothing. And I had a peer and associate who did the same thing. He bought a very expensive lawnmower. He ran one ad and then quit and sold the lawnmower. I bought a less expensive lawnmower. And the number one thing that I know is you have to constantly knock on doors. You have to constantly post on social media. You have to be that annoying person that's always putting themselves out there. So when that person does think about using business, they're going to think about you. That's what Grant Cardone is talking about, dominate the space of the business you represent. So success isn't a popularity contest. When I'm on social media, I'm blasting away. I want people to know who I am. I want people to know that I'm in business. I'm not there for the likes. And so when a person does have a problem with their grass, or they need their hedges trimmed, or they need plants installed, or they need a French drain, or they need anything that they could ask me, then I'm there. They think of me first. And so that's why I love the 10X rule. And so another thing is, when I started my vending machine business, I started with $20 and business cards. When I first started my vending machine business, I was in Starkville. I started both of these businesses when I was in Starkville. The first thing I did, I read in Rich Dad Poor Dad the idea about passive income. So earned income is when you physically go work for somebody to make money. Passive income is when you have money generated for you while you're not doing anything. So I got the idea of vending machines. Okay, so I can go play some vending machines out at restaurants, out at barbershops, out at factories, or wherever I can find a place to put this vending machine at. I can go do something else, and these vending machines are going to make me money while I'm doing something else. So I went and I found a deal for 100 vending machines for $2,500. That's $25 a piece. I put them out into the market. I found places that wanted the vending machines, and they were making me about $10 a month. So in 2.5 months, that vending machine is paid for. So those vending machines are making me money while I'm doing other things. And so, but when I first got the vending machines, I bought the vending machines and I was like, oh yeah, I'm in the vending machine business, but I wasn't, because they were sitting in my garage. They're not gonna make you any money in your garage. I had to extrovert myself into the marketplace. Like usually, like before I got started, I didn't like going out and putting myself in front of people and like asking them, if they want a vending machine, or asking them if they want to buy something. But I had to do that. That's why selling is your number one skill. I had to go around to different businesses in Starkville. I had to go around to different businesses in Columbus, different businesses in West Point, and I hit the entire town up asking everybody if they want a vending machine, and it took a long time to get all those candy machines out. So when I started back the second time, I realized I didn't have the machines the second time. I started out of my vending machines from when I was in Starkville after I failed, but when I started back, I started with business cards. I went around, I created my company, Delta Vending Company, and I went around to businesses, and I went around and asked as many businesses as I could if they wanted a vending machine. I got about 150 agreements from businesses. Then I found the vending machines, and I can scan through. All right, I know this business right here is probably going to perform good. This one's probably going to perform good. But the first thing you need to do is network. You need to go find people that need your goods or your services. So it's not just about like having the equipment. It's about, just like you said, you got to have the business in order to get it. What you got?
How long it took you to get profit for the whole business that you did?
All right, so in these books, it talks about the number one thing you need to do is monetize your idea as quickly as possible. So with the lawn and landscape, I like to start making money immediately. That way I can, and also you need practice as an entrepreneur. Here's another thing, good thing in this book, you will fail. You will experience setbacks. And the good thing about being an entrepreneur or having a business is it's like having a bicycle. Like when you start to ride a bicycle for the first time, it kind of wobbles and you fall off a little bit. You need a business to practice on so you can become a better entrepreneur. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be hard at first, and you're going to run into some setbacks. But just know the only way to get better is to have a business to practice on.
So,
Go ahead.
so did you go to school? I know she said you went to school, but was your major like entrepreneurship? Or
No, it was not. I took her class a couple of years ago. She has a great class for creating your business plans and everything, but they all come from these books, and these books are going to tell you to take action. That's the biggest thing in these books, because you can have the greatest plan, but unless you act on that plan is nothing more than a daydream.
So that's really what you did. You really like read up on knowledge for it rather
Yes.
than like do the tradition around like go to school.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to tell you in these books, and I do value in education, but it's going to say an education won't help you be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Having a business to practice on.
Okay, I'm gonna beg to differ on that. You need to get organized before you start.
You do need to get organized before you start, but your plans are going to change immediately after you start the business. You can create the most detailed business plan in the world. The moment you put that into action, you're going to say, oh my God, I forgot about this thing right here. You got to be flexible and allow that to change.
That's right.
So,
But I also think there's a difference between like two different types of entrepreneurs. Like him, he has the entrepreneur mindset. Like he doesn't he know what it takes to run a good business, and he knew what knowledge he was lacking in, and he knew how to find it. And the difference between another person they call this entrepreneurship is where they don't really know anything. They really don't even have the mindset with it at all. And so that's really the difference between, I feel like, if you sink or swim, because like you said, you can still have all the education,
Oh, yeah.
but you still can lack the mindset of it, and that will never get you anywhere. And I think there's a lot of people that get confused with what entrepreneurship is, because he has like the mindset, he has like he has like the go, because you can still have like the go-getter attitude, the drive, but if you don't have the correct mindset and the correct steps to fall into place, it will fail every single time. So the education part, you may some people, and probably even him, you need some ideas, but generally if you have the mindset, you can just go around with it. So I think
sure, you're all in. That's a very important point right there. And that's another thing about an entrepreneur. Like your education can never stop. Like this is the thing about, you can go get a degree and get a job somewhere and then stop going to school, but you always have to be learning as an entrepreneur. And another thing is you always got to be staying positive, and you always got to be learning. There'll be something that I don't know about that I will read in a book, and that tells you about, this tells you about creating business plans, but those business plans are going to change. And I would say this book right here, I read before I went back into entrepreneurship full time. It's called Before You Quit Your Job. And it's just about everything you need to know that's going to happen to you before you become an entrepreneur. This is written by an entrepreneur who's gone through all the emotional problems, all the stress, everything that you're going to have to go through, like being operating without money. You got to be able to and you have to have a high level of trust in people when you create a team. You got to if you want to go because I can tell you right now, anybody in the world can be in the S quadrant. Y'all remember what the S quadrant is? What's the S quadrant? So in this right here, the S quadrant is when you're self-employed. That means you create a job for yourself. Instead of having a system, say you're a landscaper or a plumber or an electrician or a dentist who does all the work themselves. Like you do all the labor, you do everything in your business yourself. A B quadrant, that's a business right there, like McDonald's. It's a system that generates a hamburger. An S quadrant business for being in the hamburger business would be somebody who just flips the burger themselves and sells it. A B quadrant is a business system. A business system is something that can generate money without you being there. In other words, it's passive income. So in order to go to the B quadrant, you have to have a high level of trust in people. The reason why you stay in the S quadrant is because you'll start a business thinking you can do it better than everybody else, and you don't hire people. You have to go to the B quadrant in order to be financially free. You can't be financially free in the S quadrant because you stay small, because you think you're smarter than everybody else, and you stay in the small little clique. You could be 1 or 2, 3 employees, but in order to be in the B quadrant, you're going to have multiple employees. Think Microsoft, think Google, think Walmart, think McDonald's. Those are all B quadrant businesses. Those guys created systems. Those guys are playing golf right now, probably. They're probably starting other businesses, but they have businesses that run on their own because they trust other people. Yeah, they're probably playing golf. You're right.
All right, guys, let's thank you very much.
All right. Also, invest in real estate, because real estate is going to be the way to wealth. So as an entrepreneur, you're not gonna have a retirement plan, but let me give you an example of how real estate can make you wealthy. So this is gonna take 3 minutes. All right, so when you invest in real estate, there's two types. There's investing in real estate for passive income and investing in real estate for flipping, for capital gains. You want to invest in real estate for passive income. In other words, you buy a house, you rent it out, and it makes you money and it makes you cash flow. So do y'all know what equity is when you buy a house? Like building up your equity in a house. So in other words, whenever you buy a $10,000 house, usually you have to pay a down payment, which is 10% of the total cost. So 10% of $100,000 is $10,000. That's your investment in that piece of property. And so how a mortgage works is you'll pay like $500 a month for 30 years to pay off that $100,000. Every time you pay $500, it goes towards building your equity. So you start out at $10,000, then you go to $10,500.
So equity is just how much of you actually own?
Yes, equity, exactly. Equity is ownership. So then you'll have every month you're building your equity as you're making payments on that house until after 30 years, then you sell the house. So whenever you buy a house and rent it out, usually you rent a house out for more than your mortgage cost. So if you buy a house and your mortgage is $500, you rent that house out for $1,000. Your tenant builds your